there anything we do on our side?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah,
we're just hanging.
Yeah, it's live now, so we can't talk smack
words,
about anybody anymore.
Hey, we're done.
No bad words.
I got no more to say.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I consider this kind of like an 18A type thing, so
Oh, I told people that we're young.
Oh. No. We are, but you can talk like you're old.
My
I'm
goodness.
going to share this thing here.
With shaky voice. I remember.
Yeah. Back in my day.
I just want a Timbit.
Oh my God. I can hear myself. Just got to. Okay. So, just while people are trickling in here, we kind of have to just BS for a minute.
Yeah.
I am the greatest.
For a minute, I've done it for 51 years.
Oh, right. God.
I'm a pro.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to, longevity in the music business. Maybe.
Yes.
See
or something.
See how deep you want to go.
Otherwise.
Yeah. So, I normally kind of start this thing with just kind of talking about what you've been up to, where you've come from as a player and an educator, I guess, in this case, kind of just a short story of your career path, if you will. So we just
I want to hear Brad King's answer on this, actually, because I don't know his whole story. So I want to hear this. And we're going alphabetically, so B is first.
So B is
yeah, great.
Yeah, BR8. Shoot.
Yours, Brendan. Yeah, man. Totally.
Okay, so my story, just in a quick thumbnail, I guess through probably about grade 10 is when drums started to get pretty serious for me, and then that would have been 1984, 85. So I finished high school, and at that point, it was pretty clear that I wanted to do something with music. I didn't really know what. I started playing with bands, around Saskatoon and that type of thing. And there was one group of musicians in particular. They've since moved on, but we got to a place where this is kind of fast forwarding maybe 4 or 5 years, and I should kind of precursor that with the fact that I was supposed to be going, at my dad's, prodding, get my degree, in music, whatever it was going to be. He needed to see an official degree. And so I had kind of signed up for that, but during the first year, so this would have been 87, 88, my first year of U of S, I was going to get I don't know, I was in arts and crafts. I wasn't really sure. So anyway, did the first year, and no word of a lie, I was probably playing, 3 to 5 hours a day. So I'd come home, I'd have classes in the morning, I'd come home, I'd play, from 11:30 till 1. I had a class at 1:30, I'd finish up around 3. Then I'd come home and I'd play till supper time and try to get an hour in after supper.
Right.
And so, it was always the questions, are you still doing your labs? Are you doing all your work? And oh yeah. So finish, that first year, flash forward to July, August, Dad's wondering, have you got your classes? Do you know when your classes are? And I hadn't registered.
Right.
And I kind of levied the boom that, this was it. Music was it for me. And, I'll spare you the gory details, but that didn't go over so hot. But at the same time, this band with Shannon Wagner, Myron Wagner, Andrew Gingrich. I think Andrew lives in Calgary now. But anyway, we started playing a lot, and kind of at that same time, I had interest from, can you teach me how to play? Can you, show me, some of the stuff you do? And that's really kind of how it started. Like I don't actually have any formal training whatsoever.
Right.
and which, you know, has been interesting, you know, as you speak to different players over the years, and they're like, oh, where'd you go to school? And, you know, well, I didn't really go to school. It was all self-motivated, you know, and that
Cool.
type of thing. So anyway, that's, you know, that band that I was playing with at the time was called Takoa. And, you know, we were trying, this is back in the pre-internet days, right? So we had people, you know, we were trying to get noticed. You know, we had some producers we really liked, and this was a, you know, Christian band. So, you know, we were kind of going, you know, we contacted John Elefante, and he was, you know, him and Dino were doing all that, you know, mid 80s, late 80s Petra and all that kind of stuff. And so we actually had, you know, a few conversations with him, and it just ended up, you know, it was just going to be too expensive. Like, you know, to do a demo, you know, have them kind of nurture you to a place of, you know, of being noticed, and just very hard. Anyway, so after that, I quit the band, and I started freelancing and teaching, you know, quite a lot, you know, significantly more. And that would have been 91, and it was just before my first son was born. And from then on, I was, you know, living the life of the hand-to-mouth musician, you know, just trying to make everything jive. And, you know, I'd hear all the names, you know, I'd hear, you know, as coming up through the 90s, you know, you'd hear, you know, Jayson's name, and, you know, Chris Sutherland's name, and just all these names, and Hal Schrank, and all these guys who I still think are, you know, really fantastic players. I mean, I feel like we look too often out of our own scope, and we don't really realize just the really, there's some heavy guys around, you know, and, you know, Mark Kelso, Larnell, you know, all those guys. And, you know, I'm sure, you know, Jayson could attest that, you know, we could pick up the phone right now and call them, and they'd pick up and have a, you know, 20-minute conversation with you, you know.
Right.
So it's a real,
100%.
you know, that's, you know, that's kind of, you know, kind of how my journey's been. So education was a big part of it, you know.
Okay.
Jay went the superstar route, and
oh wait, I haven't talked yet. You don't know.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
In tandem with his teaching, he was, you know, playing for all these great, you know, higher profile bands and stuff. It's just, it's great to see. I don't feel any kind of like a spirit of competitiveness with anyone. I don't.
It's not how art works.
Yeah, exactly. I love seeing guys, you know, playing and doing what they're doing, and it gets me excited, you know. And, you know, it just, especially in this, you know, weird time, you know, just kind of keeps everybody believing in, you know, that music is more relevant than ever. We're just going to have to rethink for a while how we're going to manage that and still pay our cell bills.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, online education is still going to be I mean, it's huge right now, but I think moving forward, even after everybody's kind of back to normal, I think this online education thing will it'll be around for
it'll
ever.
stay hot, right?
Yeah.
I think the technology's been there, and guys like Brad, John Familiaro, a whole bunch of guys have been using it. Now it just became sort of, you know, an instance where it's like use it or don't keep going ahead with how this is going to go forever now.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Totally.
No man left behind.
No.
Yeah.
Well, if you decide to be left behind, you can.
That's right. It's your choice.
Yeah, exactly. We got, Greg says hi. Hi, Greg.
Hey,
Hello,
Greg.
Greg.
Hey, man, I haven't seen Greg in so long.
I haven't either. Greg and I went to school out here for a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
And Shane says hi too.
Oh, dear.
Hey, Shane.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Is this when the comment section lights up?
Now it's a part. Now we got a party. when the bass players show up, you know it's a party.
Oh God, I forgot to ban them all.
Yeah.
Man.
You could have the what is your instrument question before engaging.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Little password.
That's funny.
That's great. And so you have a home studio, correct? Like
Yes.
a home teaching studio, and you teach out of there primarily.
Yeah.
Now, cool.
Yeah, I haven't. The only, like, I have taught privately for as long as I can remember. For one year. This was back when you might not know Ralph, but Jayson would know Ralph Johnstone from
Absolutely.
ATL. So they started a school upstairs called MTM, Musicians Teaching Musicians, and Greg Miller was the guitarist, hot guitar player, and he was kind of he was the man, and he was putting all that together. And he said, "Brad, would you come in? You know, I'm not expecting you to drag your students from home and teach them here, but could you give us like an afternoon or, one evening?" And so I kind of, maneuvered my schedule, and that was the only, and it was just for one season, because then it ended up kind of, I'm not sure what went on, but it just kind of fell apart. And
okay.
So I did that for a year, and that was the only, I guess, organized, music school teaching that I did, as far as being a staff. I was on staff there's a Bible college north of Saskatoon called Bethany Bible Institute. It doesn't exist anymore. But I was actually on their music faculty for 3 years. And, it was, these guys were getting accredited college level, credits and all that kind of stuff. So I guess as far as like official, that would quantify as well, I suppose.
That's pretty official. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Right on.
So lots, and it was, again, before computers and everything. So you
Mhm.
had to make your little, photocopied spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff, write down marks and grades, and
Hardly remember those days.
Well,
Such a concept.
Oh, right? Yeah.
It's quite terrifying.
Bullets to disappear. Now that's the ongoing. How do these bullets?
That's, wow. I haven't heard that in a long time. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Is there anything else you want to add, or should we get Jayson to walk us through his?
Let's hear from Jay. You don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear everything from me, for sure.
Oh, we do.
We got time. I got time.
Exactly. I cleared my schedule till Monday. I don't know what Monday, but some Monday I cleared my schedule.
It's going to be a marathon then.
Every day's Saturday. That's what I tell my students.
Oh my God. Look, I'm 72-hour drum talk.
That's right. Most of them last weekend didn't even know it was a long weekend. I had said at their lesson, "How was your long weekend?" It was a long weekend. I was like, "Oh yeah, right."
Yeah.
There's no reference.
Exactly.
That's way too funny.
Well, yeah. Tell us about your path. You can go.
Yeah. So
you can go back as far as you want, or
well, it all started May 11th, 1969. I'm just kidding. Well, I did, but I was born on Mother's Day, actually. What a terrible gift.
Oh, come on.
Just to start the story like that. And now it gets
is that what your mother said, or is that what you're saying?
I always said that. I think she always disagreed, but I don't know.
Okay.
So I when I was a little kid, I remember wanting to play the drums. I don't know why. I don't know. There was nobody in my family, and it's a large family. My mom had 11 brothers and sisters, and my dad had 5 siblings. Nobody played music. So I don't know. But I remember hearing stories from my grandma that when I was like 4 and 5, I would, be hitting things, which I'm not surprised because I was a hyperactive kid. But so I remember asking for lessons, and it never worked out because my parents didn't want the noise in the house, which makes sense. That's a logical argument. And finally at 13, they were tired of hearing this, and they thought, let's get the kids some lessons. We should try this. So it was the first Saturday after grade 9 started, and I started my lessons. And it was at a place in Regina called the Academy of Music, which is now Long McQuaid. And Sharon and Peter Dykesman owned the business at that point. The Music Box was the music store, and then the Academy of Music was was there an Academy of Music in Saskatoon, Brad? I can't remember if there was.
I don't remember.
There was a music box though, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
L&M bought them, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So there's a big history of that in town. So I started lessons the first Saturday, 11:30 a.m. Walked in, got a practice pad and some sticks from the teacher. His name was Chris Coggins. Chris is an amazing teacher. He's a principal at a school in St. Albert now and still plays a bit. And I just remember thinking, this is like unbelievable. This was the best thing ever. And Chris was there for 2 years. So I took lessons from him for 2 years. And then he had moved away for his teaching internship. So in grade 11, I wasn't involved in lessons then. But in high school, I had a band teacher. Our band teacher is Bob Nichols. And Bob Nichols is still a percussionist with the Symphony of Orchestra of Regina. And Bob, there was a few of us in his music classes that he kind of took under his wing and really like sort of got us working on like music theory and things that were just like, man, why are we doing this? This is crazy. And teaching us like timpani and all this other stuff. And it's like, man, I just want to play drum kit. I don't want to do this. You know, years later, you know, I'm writing him a letter thanking him because, you know, that was irreplaceable, the information that he gave me at that point. And then grade 12 came around and a job opened up at the Academy of Music to teach. And because I knew some of the teachers there and stuff, they reached out and asked if I'd be into teaching. And I had no business teaching. I had only been playing for a few years, but I was into it. I was really working hard and learning a lot of stuff and everything. So, you know, again, in my life, this is how I operate. There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity. And I just kind of go back and forth every day, all the time. This is just what happens. So I say yes. I got no business saying yes. I'm 17. I don't, you know, I'm probably going to walk in the room and some kid's going to play me under the table. I'll be like, great. So I'll show up next week for my lesson. I'll show up for my lesson next week then. That's awesome. So I take the job and then you swim, right? You got no choice, but, you know, you swim. And fortunately, the people that were there, you know, Sharon Dykesman and other staff members, specifically Ray Bell, and I'll talk about him in a minute, but specifically Ray Bell helped me out a ton. So I taught that year, my grade 12 year, and then I just taught a few more years there, and I really loved it, but I was still playing. And I played in a bunch of bands, and when I was 18, I had a chance to join a band, a really good band in town, a country band called Fast Freight, with players that were in their mid-late 30s. And that's the key to learning anything in life, is surround yourself with people that have way more experience and do your best to keep up at every moment. Yep. Don't blink. You know, we have 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So listen and watch more than you talk, and you'll learn a lot of stuff. So I learned a ton, and we played some of the experiences we played, you know, like Stampede at 19, playing with Wolf Carter, all these things that happened that I didn't even realize were happening at that point. And I'm learning these huge lessons about music, but life too. I'm learning massive life lessons. So Fast forward, 20 years old, I go on the road with this dysfunctional band, travel around Canada for about 5 months, realize this is the worst choice I've ever made in my life. I've got to go back home. I can't do that. Exactly. I can't do this. So I come back home and started thinking about the future and thinking about, well, what do I want to do? You know, and I remember in grade 12, I was hearing of all these guys going to PIT in LA. And, you know, and that's when, you know, Jeff Picard was doing a bit of teaching there, but Joe was definitely teaching there. And all, you know, it was Casey Sherrill, all these guys were doing stuff there. And I was like, man, that's amazing. So you write them, you have to write a letter, you write them, and they send you back in the mail an application. So you fill out the application, you send it back, they send it back, and then they let you know how much it costs to go to their school. So they let you know this. So then promptly you read this and you go, okay, so the next plan will be not going there, but someday maybe I'll visit. So I didn't follow through, obviously. But so I come back after being on the road and I'm thinking, well, what should I do? So I enroll in school at SciAst in Regina for electronics because I was interested in electronics. But again, you know, your parents say you gotta do something, you know, and this music thing apparently isn't working out if you go on the road for 5 months and, you know,
I want to quit.
Whatever. But in my mind, I still knew it could work. So I go to school, I come back and I go to school for electronics, but I go back teaching. And I love it. And I'm still playing and stuff and whatever, but I'm really loving the teaching thing. And as I'm in school and things unfold in my 20s, you know, have a couple kids, Brad understands. And then you go, okay, now there's more reality. And now, you know, things start, you know, the box becomes narrower of going, oh, I can't really go and do that because now, you know, I've got to keep this 2-year-old alive. So you do that, but you keep playing and you keep working and you keep inspired. And this is in the 90s. And there was a lot of inspiring things going on in the 90s, sort of pre-start of internet. But I was doing a lot of reading, like Modern Drummer and stuff, and practicing a bunch and everything. At 30, things changed around in life. You know, my first wife and I split up and stuff and whatever. It was all fine. But that's when I remember specifically, it was November of 2000. I remember sitting down in an apartment I had, which I'd never lived in an apartment in my life, sitting in my apartment by myself and going, you know what, if I'm going to try this, I got to do it. And I'm not going to be 50 years old living in the what ifs going, man, you know, I just never tried. And my motto in life, one of my mottos in life is if you don't try, you suck. And I just thought, you know what, if I don't go for this, even if I fail, I've at least at the end of the day went, well, I tried, I did it. I did, you know, all I could. And at that point, I thought, you know what, I got to get really back into teaching and really start taking that very seriously, because I think the education side of the music industry is I think it's kind of the pinnacle of the industry. I think it's the one thing that, you know, that side of the industry, there's not a lot of BS on it. There's not a lot of gossip. There's not a lot of, you know what I mean? It's a service. You know, these kids, these kids, adults want to learn to play music, and you just happen to be their vehicle to get them doing that. And you can inspire these people more than you even know, but as you guys understand, by doing this. So I thought, I've got to take that serious. I've got to take my playing more serious and you know, and not go find better gigs. There's no such thing as a better gig. It's just other gigs playing with people. It's just playing with people. It doesn't matter what the gig is. It's just interacting with other musicians. And I just started making some changes in how I thought about this and how I thought about things. And, you know, and at that point had kids that were, you know, how old are the kids? 8 and 4. So, you know, but that informs your decisions as well. You make better decisions when you go, man, I'm accountable to other human beings and not just myself. And you become a lot more selfless and empathetic to things, which I think people need to make a living in the music industry. Yeah. I think the music industry you have to be selfless. You have to be giving. You have to be, you know, that's just the way it works, especially on this instrument, especially playing drums. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that can be selfish playing this instrument ever. I don't think there can be, but I don't think there's longevity in that. Yeah. You know,
so that's for Instagram.
It's a giving position. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it is, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So yeah, so from that point on, I just changed, you know, how I thought about things, and still do. You know, the whole pandemic right now, this whole thing we're going through has changed how I think about things and stuff, and think about everybody else, and you know, and just how this fits into my life, you know. And then it went on from there. It just kind of, you know, things snowballed a little bit. There was a gig I did in it was May 14th, 2004. I had a gig filling in for a band in Regina. An artist, her name's Lisa Brokop, and a friend of mine, Jay Bittner, which Brad knows, Jay Bittner from Saskatoon. He lives in Vancouver now. Jay recommended me for this one gig, and I filled in and did an okay job, I guess. Tom McKillop from Vancouver was the band leader. He thought I did a good job, and the next bunch of years after that, he recommended me for work because that one thing I went in and did, you know, did a good job, and it got me a lot of work. And the gig I have now with Aaron, you know, that's just about 12 years running, you know, was a recommendation through another player off that gig. And it all happens like that, right? Like you're only as good as your last gig, and you have to, you know, you really have to think that way, and you have to be going, well, man, what does this need me to do? What's required from me in this situation? Whether that's a lesson whether that's a show, a rehearsal, anything, whether that's your family, like, our youngest son's 7 and we're doing the homeschooling now thing in grade 2. And it's like, holy man, this is a whole other mindset of waking up every day and going, you know what? And every day, and I tell him this, but every day when every human being wakes up, you have 2 choices for that day. Things can be awesome or awful, and you got to pick one. And every day, if you do that, man, you really realize it comes down to really those 2 things, and we're in control of both of them all day long.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. And it's funny because, you talk about people like how lucky we are, and it's super lucky that we get to, play music and make a living doing this. Like, it almost is like a pinch me thing for me anyways. I'm just kind of like sitting here going, wait a minute. This is still what I do. Like, this is what I do. Like, this is, we're super honored to do that. And it's because of, I think, the choices that we make of things that are awesome and awful, because we could be a terrible teacher and it's up to the students if they want to come back or not.
Yeah.
One week they could just go, you know what? This is not for me.
Unless there's an ironclad contract.
Well, that's true.
10 years of tuition up front.
Yeah. Up front.
That works. That works. Yeah. Sorry. But and it was the same thing. Like, I had no formal education in doing this. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people, especially with teaching, like, I've noticed when you teach, and we have a music school in town called Music in the House, and we've been running for a while. And Ray Bell, going back to like when I was in high school at the Academy of Music teaching, Ray Bell is the partner in the business that we have, and has been one of my best friends forever, and has taught me so much about life and music. I don't even know if I can thank him for everything he's taught me, but yeah, I just completely lost my train of thought. That's what happens. There's the drummer thing right there. And the next thing was,
this is improv.
Yeah, exactly. I can't do that. No, but again, the idea of being able to do this for a living, you don't take it for granted. And I think the biggest thing this time has taught, I think all of us, but really myself for sure, because that's all I know is me. I can't speak about anybody else, but really has taught me is like, man, I'm not going to take for granted being able to high five another player at a gig. I'm not going to take for granted looking out and seeing people enjoying a show, because it could go away in 5 minutes, like this whole thing sort of did.
Yeah. I'm not going to span of 48 hours. I think the whole industry just.
Yeah, man. 100%. And that was, and I think that everybody, as everybody's sitting around thinking about the future and this and stuff, because there's a lot that goes through everybody's minds. I think they just have to kind of find the ways that they can make their days awesome and not awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Right. I mean, that seems easier said than done, but I don't know.
And you want to know something? That's, to me, like, you talk about making the choice, like, to have an awesome day or whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's been because I get to continue engaging, in like this. I know this isn't live, and there's energy, but you know what I mean. There's no physical energy. But if I couldn't see, the students and still see the joy on their face, the success, figuring out ways to, just little things like, for the first little while we were struggling with, I'd play something, they'd play it back. They weren't getting it until I finally figured out, just some simple ways for them to be able to play along with me, and just seeing their faces just go, wow, oh, so I'm there with you, Jay. Like, it is a choice. Like, you wake up and you can either be embittered by the fact that, well, because I'll be frank right here. Like, I lost 40% of my income from live playing.
Yeah.
40% gone.
Yeah.
That's, and that's neither here nor there. There are some people that lost, 100%, and I'm not getting into, government subsidy, that kind of thing. If that's available to you, it's not available to me.
Me neither.
So, and again, a precursor to that by saying that's nobody's fault, responsibility. I chose to be a musician. Lots of guys are out there and they're, harping on, social media and whatever platform they can about wanting to tour again. And, it's people are going to be terrified to go to a show for one thing, for the first little while.
Yep.
So anybody that thinks it's going to happen in the next 2-3 months, they're dreaming. We might get to play in a club. Because we're able to play smaller gigs. And then there's a whole other dichotomy happening where it's like, well, is the venue owner going to even want live music because they can't have more than 50%, of capacity? So are they going to want to justify paying, what you got going on, right?
Yeah, right. Financially, it's not really going to make sense to them for a while.
Right?
Yeah.
So I just feel like, making that choice to be positive, like, you just have to be creative. I've had the blessed good fortune, like for the past 5 years, myself, Josh Palmer, Scott Patrick, Grant Sotnikow, and Dave Anderson have all been kind of doing this Connect church thing that's been going on in Saskatoon here. And it's been like, for us, it's been like a second job. Like it's an agreed position. You have to prioritize that. Like if you take a gig Saturday night, you've got to make sure you can get back for it because that was the agreement. They wanted this band. They wanted, this is what they wanted. So, and we've, through this, shutdown, have been able to at least still engage with online performances. So, I feel like, as soon as everything was off the table and, I still recognize that, I am still really fortunate.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of guys where it was all wiped out.
Yeah.
And they don't have anything right now. Like anything. That's
me. Yeah. Essentially. I think 80 or 90% of my income was from playing live, but thankfully most of my students paid for lessons at the beginning of the year or the beginning of this calendar year. So,
it puts a bit more pressure on you to be, a good financier and make sure you spend ahead of time.
And I qualify for subsidies and stuff like that, like CERB, and thank goodness, because that's going to save my butt.
No. That makes a difference. Like people that do qualify, that's great because you have to, that's what it's there for. It's there to help people out get through this thing, and being in Canada is great. It's not. We're not really complaining about that, but we won't really go there. But just the idea of getting everybody through, right, and just all of us understanding that, like I think as musicians or self-employed people, like even other business owners in town that I've talked to that had clothing shops and took a huge hit on this whole thing, just talking like this and just going, what, I'm feeling the same way. I have the same questions. I have the same thoughts daily. There's peace of mind in that, just kind of going, what, we are in this as a team. We're all in this together. And anybody, knows. And I tell my students and students' parents and stuff, it's like, what, if you guys are having a bad day, like reach out to me, like just let me know, man. Cause maybe I am too, or maybe, like I got a text the other night it was about 1 a.m. I had a student who was sitting up and he was just thinking about drum stuff. And he was like, man, I wonder what it was like when, back in the, he just started talking about like through the Depression and guys playing music then and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like this was a 14-year-old kid and this is running through his mind at 1 a.m. You know what I mean? I'm like, you should be playing Call of Duty or something. But now, and I was like, well, this is, so we chatted for a while and I was like, man, that's a crazy question, but that's what's going through people's minds now, just figuring this, because there's no, like, you're not basing this on anything. Like no one goes, well, the last time this happened, it's like, we don't.
Yeah, there's no blueprint.
Last time.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when people say that'll be fine, it's like it was fine before when this didn't go on. I don't know, like 1918, was it fine? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what fine is.
Yeah.
So
I think that that's kind of one of the reasons I started this thing too. I think the first the first live stream that I did was on Instagram, and the topic was mental health and physical. No, it wasn't mental health. It was to do with like physical health as a drummer, but then it kind of branched into the mental side of things. And the common thread is, everybody, I think, wants to, like you said, we need to talk about this stuff and realize that we're not on our own.
Yeah.
And that kind of eases a little bit of that anxiety, at least for me.
Totally.
100%. Well, especially, being creative people and, and self-employed and all these other things that are like, they're almost opposites, right? So I was like, you're this creative person who just strives to be creative, but you're self-employed. So you have to manage all the finances. It's like, holy smokes, I'm the CEO and the guy that's just like collecting the garbage at I don't like, it's like, whoa, what's going on here?
Totally.
And it's a balancing act, and it's and there's it's not just this job, it's many jobs that happens, but in this industry there is that big shift of things constantly going back and forth.
Oh, totally. And the wage disparity. I mean, at the end of the day, any working musician probably makes $2.50 an hour, by the end of the work week.
Yeah.
After doing everything you need to do.
Totally. Yeah.
But
the extra time put in on stuff too, right? Like, we'll always go the extra mile. That's just sort of a musician thing, and I think that's a drummer thing too, is going a little further, just kind of pushing it a little further. And I know that other players. I don't know if Shane's still on here, but I know, man, he goes like, if he's working on something, man, it's like some guys put their whole ass in on stuff. It's like Shane has 5 asses and he puts it in on doing like, it's crazy, and I love that. That's inspiring to be around people like that and going, whoa, how do you keep up? Like, how do you just give and give and give?
5-assed Shane.
Yes, that's right. You should comment on that, because I think that's pretty good. That's going to be his new stage name.
It's going to be I got to put it up on the banner here. 5-assed Shane.
We can have banners? Whoa.
5-assed Shane.
Oh, nice. I like it.
I'm not going to like that.
Let's get out of hand really quick.
It can get really bad. Once you start paying for feeders, you can, put all kinds of stuff all over the place.
That's right.
So this is great. I kind of touched on a couple of things with regards to teaching online. Brad, you mentioned, figuring out ways for people to play along with you while you're teaching online. Can you explain that a little bit? I mean, I'm sure I know what you mean, but yeah.
Ready for the golden ticket?
No, well, let's get into this, because this is great.
Get them to mute their screen. That's simple. You don't have to have
no video.
Yeah, like, so in other words, when they're when you've got the call on the other end. So this is FaceTime, Skype. It appears you can do it here. You just hit mute. So if I wanted to, if Jayson was trying to teach me something and he wanted me to play along with him, I would just mute my screen. I can hear him and I'm just playing along with him. Right. So really what it's all that I'm kind of insinuating is that at least the kid can, or the student can, log in some time with you, and then I'll reverse it.
Right.
I'll mute my screen. You lead. Let's hear kind of where you're at with, whatever the pattern or whatever we're doing. And I do that almost like as a standard, like when we're warming up, we both have the pads, and I'll be like, okay, you're going to lead us through this little figure, and I'll mute my screen and I'll play along with you.
Cool.
It's pretty cool. Then it's easy,
Yeah.
And really you could have a multi-person call, like all 3 of us could play together, just with one person leading and just work it out.
Yeah.
And, just exchange the mutes, and, it's a pretty easy thing.
Yeah, totally. That's a great tip.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you guys have kind of discovered through this whole online teaching thing?
I think a lot of cats go overboard, in the sense of, they feel like they've got and the only reason I have and Jay probably has the same, is, a heavier interface, because of, we do a lot of recording. So, you know, it's just basically your Pro Tools or Logic interface that you're using as the audio capture. So a lot of guys think they have to go out and invest that kind of money, and you don't.
Yeah.
You know, you could get, you know, like an Audient or something, you know, just, it can be way, way less. But you should beef up your internet connection before anything, I think.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
That's where if someone was going to start doing this regularly, I mean, what the other person has on the other end is, you know, that I mean, you have no control over that.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can have, you know, it should be, you know, and before I'll do a session, like a teaching session, I'll check my speed.
Right.
I'll do a ping test.
Yeah.
And I've had to shut other people down in the house. I'm like, are you downloading something? Are you uploading something? You know, because you know, it affects what goes on here, you know. And
totally.
you're working.
I should have checked on that today. I think my wife's doing all kinds of video calls upstairs, so hopefully we don't shut down.
This seems good.
Yeah, it's working for now.
Yeah.
But that's, for me, that's, you know, those two things, you know, just be in a good headspace when you do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah, I found that, well, I think somebody sent an article to me right at the beginning of this whole thing that was talking about teaching online. And one of the things that stuck out to me was not drawing attention to the inefficiencies or the downsides to doing online lessons, you know, especially with kids, you know, like don't make the comment, oh, this audio is terrible or anything like don't.
Why do you keep freezing up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like just don't.
Speaking of that, did you guys see? I don't know if it was Jeff Queen or who did it the other night. There was a guy, it was a marching guy, and he did a video, and it was like what online lessons look like, and he was on a pad. But did you guys see this?
No.
It was so I gotta send it out. It's so funny. So he was playing. So he's on his pad and he's playing. So he's warming up and stuff, and then all of a sudden he goes,
yeah.
And then it goes really fast.
It was great. Exactly. It was so good. But it was all in real time, and it was so good. It was like, oh man, that's it.
That's accurate.
It's
totally accurate.
And he could barely keep a straight face. But that's, you know, those are just little bumps. They're pretty small bumps.
Yeah.
Like I've just found over the last little bit, because Brad's done way more online teaching than I have, but I had done some, but obviously I prefer, you know, the one-on-one lessons, you know, at the school or here at our home facility. And so going into it, I was like, man, there could be like some really weird things, you know, that go on. And some students were kind of reserved about it. And there'd be a couple lessons where it'd be like, oh man, okay, something got glitchy, or that's the new catchphrase with all the young students now. Oh, you're all glitched out. You're all glitched out there. It's like, whoa, just hold on.
Yeah, to me.
Maybe it's a Regina thing. I don't know. But then it didn't become a big deal, and it almost became kind of funny with some of them, where it's like, the call dropped. I'll just call them back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, and they're tolerant. Like everybody's super tolerant, and I've had 3 adult students that actually said the other day, they're like, you know what? I don't know that we need to actually go back to the one-on-one lessons, because this is working so good in my space, playing my drums. You know, I'm comfortable here. I've got everything I need. You know, when we're using Zoom or Skype, I can have the PDF up on the screen for them to look at, and then I'll email it later. You know, I can just share the music live. You know, there's a lot of things that they're like, you know what, this I really like this, and we would have never explored it if we hadn't have done this.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I've probably problem solved 16 or 17 bass drum pedal issues.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, so kids trying to play, you know, figure, and I'm like, you know, I'm thinking to myself, man, when he's here, it's not like this. I'm like, can you just aim your iPad down at your foot so I can see, you know, and the beaters like at maximum height. You know, and 8-year-olds trying to, you know, with all his might try to push that, you know, to the bass drum head.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
We're going to adjust this. Well, my dad's not home. I'm like, we don't need your dad.
Yeah. Exactly. Your dad doesn't play drums. Yeah.
And to be independent.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi-hat height, snare angle, tuning things. Like, you know, you'd be surprised when you hear in a phone and you hear, you know, some kid, you know, it'll play as Tom or something. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. Let's fix that.
Yeah.
We're like, well, how can you hear that? It's through the phone. It's like, well, we can fix that. And then you get them to take the key, and all of a sudden it's like, well, now they're interacting. You know, I'm loving the fact that I have some students, and I'm bad for this, where I'll just write everything down for them. I don't get them to like take a lot of notes. I'll babysit them a little bit on stuff. But now all of a sudden it's like, you have to write this sticking down. You have to write this, or you have to write this phrase down. And they're like, okay, well, I'll just write like rights and lefts. I'm like, no. We've got to write, you know, dot at 8/16. We've got to write this out. You know how to do it. And all of a sudden they're accountable and they do it, and they feel like champions after they've done it. They're like, yeah, I know how to do it. I'm like, oh, good. I knew you knew how to do this, but if I was in the room, I would have just done it for you.
Mm-hmm.
We're
as a parent, I should be better. As a parent, I should know this.
We're the snowplow teachers, Jay.
That's true. That's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. But there's a ton of positives that have come out of this. Way more than negatives. You know, like the negatives have been a dropped call. Yeah. You know, a negative has been, you know, last week, one kid missed a lesson because he was out playing with his friends and he forgot it was Wednesday. And I was like, on Monday night, I called my Tuesday guy at 9:00 by accident. I thought it was Tuesday.
Yeah.
It just happened.
That's all that happens.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of funny, right? It's just like, man, this is just real life now.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Amazing.
I was going to ask Jayson,
go ahead.
Jay, are you doing any kind of year-end thing?
You know what? We always do a year-end concert, and we had started planning it. We had the theme picked out. Great theme this year. It was disco, and the kids were down with it. They were so in it, and people started working on it, and then it all halted. Yeah. And then the venue where we have the event at, the museum, is closed, obviously. Yeah. So I think what we're going to do is we're just kind of putting it out there to our students, because no one's really traveling this summer. Like no one's, you know, everybody's summer holidays have kind of been scrapped. And I know I have a lot of students who are like, you know what, if you're just going to teach July, August, that's fine. We'll just keep going. And I'm like, great. Yeah. So we might just try to push the year-end concert to the end of October and just still do it. Same theme. And then next year we'll have 2 of them, but we'll just wait for the venue and other things to sort of line up. Yeah. But we're not in a rush. Like someone yesterday sent me a message, another business guy in town saying, you know, with the phases opening up, and just curious about when the school would open up. And I said, well, we're talking about it. We're going to figure it out, but there's no real rush. Like we don't have a lot of people putting pressure on us going, you know, we need to get back in the rooms. Yeah. So if we can be responsible and not jump in quickly, I think we'll just kind of take that route and go, well, you know, maybe a month or 2 more does way more good than harm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, but that's what's going on for the year end thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you was your thing going on? Did you have plans? Was that?
Well, it was supposed to be June 6th, so I pushed it off, and we're doing it July 3rd.
Yeah.
No audience, obviously. Right. So Whack Bam Thud is happening, but it'll just be like we're gonna shoot it, like do an audio video capture, and then we'll just stream it a week later.
Oh yeah.
The kids will all get like a 4K great copy of their performance with a mixed, you know, audio feed and all that stuff. So, and you know, I haven't heard back like final words from Yamaha and, but you know, Remo, Brinkworth, Shure are all still, they're like, if you're going to do it, we want to support it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the companies, you know, like I know that I know retail sales are good now. Like I know, but I think they're still pretty good. Like I got some headphones last week from Long McQuaid, and I was just talking to the guy curbside pickup, and Leo Sepulveda came out and we were talking, and he said last month, it was April, their sales were only down 20%, and that wasn't one person walking in the building, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of crazy. Like the lesson center obviously is closed, and some teachers have chosen to do online stuff and not. But yeah, the retail side is up, and I was like, wow, that's really good that people are still buying stuff. I
Yes.
guess, you know, and yeah, well, and those companies, like those companies, Brad, like, you know, not to get into the drum companies, but, you know,
we can
the company, well, yeah, but the companies you're surrounded with are 110% in, of course,
the best.
like they'll support all the stuff because they understand that, you know, again, you're the vehicle for these future, you know, drummers to play forever, whether they're weekend warriors, whatever, that you're just instilling the love of music in these people. And to them, that's what they need, is someone to get that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Paul Hutchinson from Vancouver just said reverb sales have been steady. Interesting.
Excellent. Hi, Paul.
Also, I'll throw this out there too. He made a mistake.
I like it. But I like the Glovin though. That's kind of like Mick Glovin.
Yeah.
My ass is fit like Mick Glovin.
Should get that on a t-shirt.
This could get out of hand here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slowly ramping up.
I like it. Yeah. No, and I, you know, with the subject of teaching and everything, I just think it's so important that you know, music education. Like I know the school teachers, you know, it's a tough time for the school teachers now, and everybody's homeschooling and stuff and everything. And I think that, you know, it's just important for people to maybe like look at taking up an instrument. You know, if you've got some time and you're sitting at home and you're like, man, I've always wanted to learn a little bit about drums or learn a little bit about something, reach out, because guys are doing online stuff. You know, and you could sign up for a couple lessons and be inspired in ways you never even knew. You know what I mean? I don't mean reach out to us. I mean reach out to anybody in your area that you're just like, hey man, someone's doing something online. Maybe I should just hit them up and you know, figure this out. I've always wanted to.
I'm taking lessons now. It's great.
Yeah.
Never been more stoked to. Well, it's also just a complete shot to the ego because it's like starting over again. But you know, yeah. But it's great. Even as a player, I've been playing for a while. Just
and you always have to, right? You know what I mean? Like you always have to continue to kind of look at it and go, where's room for improvement on this?
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
what could we get better at? What do I and keep it in, you have to keep it in check too. Like I think a lot of guys are like, man, I want to get better at shredding and doing this. And it's like, well, that's
trying to get
amazing.
Ben Bradley hair. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know, man. I'm giving you June 3rd and I'm thinking that looks pretty good.
All right.
Get it out there.
I'm thinking if Ben Bradley's on here, I want a $5 challenge. I want to pony up $5 for Brad's hairdo. There you go. There.
He might not still be on. Yeah. He was on a while ago. Maybe he's still on.
2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth, and a great head of hair.
Jeez, it's got to be the product.
Head and shoulders. It's probably just head and shoulders. It's probably like Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo or something. He doesn't tell anybody.
Likely. He doesn't want his hair to be fly away or out of control.
That's right. Yeah. That's too funny.
See if he pipes in here again.
I think he will.
Yeah. Oh, here's a off-topic question. You guys like coffee?
Oh,
yeah.
Good. All right.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll say right up front, I'm not like a coffee nerd or snob, but I do like coffee.
You need to leave the chat right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I knew I was going to get a timeout. I knew saying it I was going to get a timeout, but I wasn't going to sit here and lie and go, oh yeah, I know a lot about coffee.
Just checking. I should have led with that because that should be the gatekeeping question, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's see. I would have lied just to be part of it because you know I need to hang out with other cool guys. So I'd be like, no, I like coffee.
Yeah,
I'm totally down with coffee. It's great. Coffee's the best. Oh,
checking.
All the good. I like all the good kinds.
All
the dark ones, the medium ones. I think they're all good.
It's always. Yeah. Oh man, the nabob. Get out of here.
Yeah. Well, no. I see. I know.
I know that with 2 O's.
But if it's any redemption, maybe the coffee wasn't good, but the mug was good though, right?
Mug's great. Yeah.
That's a beauty. Dickman mug.
Yeah.
Josh says, describe your coffee rituals in detail.
Oh man,
go.
That'd be too long. Oh, you don't want to know. I could get into this briefly, I guess, but I I spent $200 on a kettle a few years ago to make my coffee. If that says anything about,
Like just to boil the water?
Yeah, it boils it to a specific temperature and holds it there while you're like.
Is that a Bonavita?
It is a Bonavita, yeah. But grind the beans 1 cup at a time. The beans cost, more than a half dozen pairs of sticks, and
$5.80 a cup for sure.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but we don't need to talk about it more.
That's crazy. I spent $50 on this acrylite, and my return on investment of this will be more than the coffee.
Aha.
I know that's no argument, but my practical side. But
can't go wrong with an acrylite.
Hey, that's true.
Brendan, I have a coffee subscription from Transcend in Edmonton.
Yes. Transcend. Transcend. I have a little online series called Musicians in Basements Drinking Coffee, and Transcend was our first official sponsor.
They are beauty.
Yeah, that was last year, and then I, got busy during the summer, and we haven't done anything with it since, really. So sorry to Transcend.
Note to self: up your coffee game, Jay. That's what I've got to up your coffee game. I've got to do this because apparently I'm way behind.
And you drink Folgers crystals.
Yeah.
No. Hey, no. No. I'll be honest.
So Shane said.
I'll be honest. He's such a. He's down to 2 asses now. He's down to 2 asses.
2 asses.
I'm not gonna lie. My coffee from this morning, it was organic, but it did come out of a Keurig. Don't judge, but I can't lie.
Totally judge.
Isn't that like a coffee condom?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But you can't.
Quiet,
come on, guys.
Brad,
come on, guys.
You probably shouldn't have said that word.
Guys.
Doesn't matter. I should have a little button that's just like beep whenever. No, I don't know how that would work with streaming, but I'll figure that out.
I was told we were talking about drums.
Yeah, not coffee.
It's
Fred,
drums, coffee. It's drums, coffee, and anything else. That's
you did say that.
Not necessarily in that order.
You did. Okay. I got you.
So
send me a link. Send me a link to the coffee company in Edmonton. I'm actually very interested now.
Well, there's a couple up here that are really good. Transcend's my favorite. The Colombian is good. They both do. I think they both do like mail out coffee subscriptions and. Transcend.
Just go one-stop shopping right there. Transcend.
Oh yeah. You sign up. They send you a bag or 2 out a month, I think, right? Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, just getting back to the drum thing. I wondered what your guys' thoughts are on platforms. And this could go either way, but platforms like Drumeo and people using platforms like that on their own to learn how to play an instrument. Only because I've had a couple of students come to me, mostly like older guys, 40s, 50s or whatever. They come in and they say, I've tried the Drumeo thing, but it was too scattered. It was too much information at once. Can you help me bring in the scope of playing and things like that? So I wondered what you guys' thoughts are on Drumeo. I like to use it as kind of a supplement for a lot of things, but I'm not necessarily sold on it being used as solely the only way to learn how to play an instrument.
That's interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
So that, for me, that ties into two things. The first being I love Drumeo. I had the great fortune. This would have been 4 years ago. That at the NAMM show got to hang out, with Jared and all those guys. And like we basically went, we left the Yamaha dinner and we went across the street, to the Sheraton and just kind of hung out, and there was a band playing, and it was just cool. It was really, really cool. So I love those guys, and I think they've made quite an empirical thing. Like it's like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything like it in the world, really. Like they've done a great job,
Yeah.
And they have tons of industry support. You know, I certainly don't have anything, you know, negative to say about what they do or what's on there. My only complaint, and this maybe isn't necessarily so much a Drumeo thing, but there's a lot of great players out there. Some are, you know, not only fantastic players, but they're fantastic educators.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some are great educators, mediocre players. I'm not saying that's who Drumeo has. I'm just saying that that's kind of the balance. And then you've got, you know, terrible players, shouldn't be teaching, you know, but somehow they have students, and maybe it's just approximate, you know, just where they're located. That's all that's available.
Right.
But we've already addressed that now that the online thing is happening, there's no excuse anymore
Mm-hmm.
to getting, you know, the information firsthand, right? Yeah. So my feelings, and it kind of ties into something Jayson said earlier, is that you have to love teaching. You have to invest fully. Like you've got to give whatever your clientele is. If you chose to teach 8 to 10-year-olds and that's all you got, then you respect that and that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you feel like it's a grind and you can't handle that anymore, I just want to do, you know, I just want to do more serious people that are going to school types, then, you know, you need to make that decision, right? And, you know, do those other students a favor and just tell them to, you know, best wishes, and you know, I'm going to kind of forward your name to someone else.
Right.
But you know, back to the Drumeo thing, I feel like some of those cats that, you know, get asked to be on there maybe aren't, you know, they're just not very clear in how they present their material or what they're trying to get across. And I think, you know, Jared and those guys go to great lengths to try to groom it somewhat, because if they're going to do, like, you know, I'm not talking about someone like, you know, Todd Zuckerman, who's, you know, an incredible player, incredible teacher, sweet guy. And he's, you know, he's got all of his stuff, you know, ready to go. Like, you know, so he could do a 10 video course, no problem.
Right.
But, you know, I know that there's sometimes, you know, maybe there's something lost in translation. I don't know if it was just, you know, everybody has bad days, you know,
right.
They get that when they perform.
But,
you know, I feel like sometimes, you know, I don't know. I just feel like you've got to be very thoughtful about, do you want to enter that world? Is it just, you know, and this isn't directed at anyone, but, we're in a pandemic, I can't gig, I'm going to teach.
Right.
What gives you the right to think that you can teach just because you can play? Like that actually upsets me. Like,
right.
I'll be completely frank. I hate when people, it's like, you know, when they ask me what I do and I'm like, well, you know, I'm a studio musician, live performer, educator. Ew. You know, it's like, you know, but then, you know, it's like, we're in this situation now, and now you're contemplating as a last resort that, okay, yeah, teaching's a legit thing. I'll get like a wicked interface and I'll do all this stuff. And, you know, that's offensive to me.
Right.
You know, so,
yeah,
you know, and maybe that got a little more heated than it should have, but that's just,
you call that heated?
Well,
I want to see some.
Brad. You're Saskatchewan showing. Calm down. Calm down, Brad.
Whoa.
Maybe it's my coffee.
Yeah, we have to dial this back just a bit. And I should clarify too, like I'm not slagging Drumeo specifically. It's more like online platforms, and there really are none other like that. There are no other platforms like Drumeo as expansive and detailed and everything. But I think a lot of people that want to learn an instrument will immediately sign up for for these platforms where they're, you know, series of video lessons, but they're not quite getting what they're looking for out of it, or they can't understand it, that kind of thing. So I think that, you know, what are thoughts on that versus finding a teacher and spending your money that way instead of
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think not to. I don't want to interrupt you there, Brad.
Oh, no, you go, Jay.
Okay. Yeah, Jared and the guys at Drumeo have done a great job, and they're invested in it. You know, I know they've invested a lot of time and money into what they're doing, and they're committed to it, and they're not just kind of flaking out on it. And they try to be diverse. You know, they try to have all different levels of players on and everything, which I have had students tell me that it's super confusing because they don't know, you know, the student might kind of know what they're looking for, but not really, but they might go see something and hear a guy say something. And then all of a sudden it changes their thought process on like, well, maybe that's how it should go. And it's like, well, no, but how do you think about it? Like, I never, you know, tell any students this is how it goes. It's like, no, there's a million different ways to do things, make records or whatever, you know, but you just have to find something that you connect with and check that out. And I do reference Drumeo a lot. Like I'll get students to go check specific things out, like go check out this Greg Bissonette thing. And he breaks this lick down and it's explained so well, or go watch Randy Cook talk about playing this groove. Because he, you know, and not send guys on a tangent to go, oh, well, go check this thing out because, you know, your left foot clave is going to get way better. It's like, well, that's not this guy's thing. You know what I mean? Like that's some guy's thing. I'll be like, absolutely, you know, go to town on Horacio Hernandez or whoever. Yeah. But it has to be, you know, and I just find it can be a little bit confusing. And with YouTube and everything, there's a little bit of entertainment in it too. Yeah. And I think some students look at it and go, well, you know, I don't know if it really entertained me. It's like, yeah, but did you learn anything? You know, and I think again, I have nothing but respect for them. And I've just referred things, but I don't know that any one thing should be your sole way to learn anything in life. You know what I mean? Like I've got no problem if a student's like, you know what, I want to work on this and this and this. I've got zero issue going, man, that's not my thing, but there's this guy, go get some lessons from him because he'll show you that. I don't do that. You know what I mean? Right. I know what I'm capable of and how I do things. And if I'm out of my zone, you know, sure, I could go, well, you know what, I'm gonna shred that for a couple of weeks and we'll pick that up. I'd rather just go, you know what, this guy does this. Yeah. He's, you know, it's like a gig. It's like someone phones me, they're like, yeah, we got this gig and it's like a double bass intensive thing. I'm like, you got the wrong phone number, man. No, phone another guy. Where a lot of guys would go, yeah, I could do that totally, and they'd like be like, I'll get it prepared. I'm like, no, that's not what you do. That's not what you do. And teaching's the same thing. You know, I'd you know, if someone wanted to learn something Brad was far superior at, I'd be like, dude, here's Brad King's number. I don't know what that would be, but that would be a lot of things. Actually,
I do have a question about that.
But I've got no problem referring someone to someone else. And this was a conversation I had with someone. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Mike Johnson, who's in this world as well. We're talking about guys years ago, and we talked about it. And we were talking about playing music and how much playing music meant to you. And he said something to me that blew my mind. And then I sat back and thought about it and realized that I think about it the same way. And through this, realize now it's exactly how I think. He said, if someone phoned me tomorrow, and this was years ago, so there was no like issue of not playing again. He said, if someone phoned me tomorrow and said I couldn't play any gigs ever again, I'd be super bummed. I'd be super bummed about it, but I might get over it. If someone phoned me and said, dude, you could never teach again, it would destroy my world. And I feel exactly the same way. I'm with Brad talking about guys just picking up teaching now because it's kind of convenient and stuff. In 18 months from now, those guys won't be teaching. In 18 years from now, we're still going to be teaching and learning. Yeah. So I guarantee it.
This doesn't diminish either the fact that Jay is one of the best guys. Like you know, it's like there's a mental state in the sense of, you know, you can't just be a fantastic performer and a cruddy teacher, you know, and the same is true if you're a great teacher, you know, you're not going to get these fantastic gigs. I know for a fact, you know, who does Jay play for? You know, arguably one of the biggest, you know,
nobody now.
So, yeah.
No, but that's true, Brad. I appreciate that, but it is true because they do go hand in hand. But if, you know, when someone says to me, what do you do? You know, teaching's high on that list. Like, it's not like, well, I play and I do this and this and this and this. And oh yeah. And I teach a bit too. It's like, no. Again, when I was 30, I made a big decision that this was the side of the industry for me. Like I connected with it. I get it. And then not everybody connects with it. You know what I mean? Like, right. You know, if everybody that wants to think about teaching should have a 7-year-old kid at 4:30 who just got home from a terrible day at school, and you got to try to hold his attention to play page 5 from Stick Control for 30 minutes. And then that should deem whether you can continue teaching or not.
Yeah.
Because that is very, very hard to do.
Absolutely. Seriously. Yeah. I think that, you know, the part for me about teaching the younger ones like that is, and it, you know, it's not necessarily the drumming part of it. It's the being a mentor part of things, you know, like they come in, they come in and they're just in an awful mood and not saying a word. And by the end of the lesson, you have them kind of smiling and like kind of back to normal. And they go home and you get a text from mom or whatever. And like, hey, thanks for the, you know, they're feeling way better after school and fine. We didn't play at all today, but
no. I remember years ago, I was teaching, it was actually at the Academy of Music. I was teaching and there was a student that came in and he was super bummed from his day at school. And he had this math thing that he couldn't quite get. And I'm not a math guy at all, but I was like, this guy's not playing drums today. There's no way. So he had his backpack with him and he had his math and it was stressing him out. And I said, you know what? Pass me your math book. Let's have a look at that. And for the lesson, we worked on his math. And it's kind of a, you know, if you're explaining that to the parents, it's like, I'm not paying for that. What are you doing? To the kid, that meant the world to him. And 4 years later, was still taking lessons from me and still brought the story up. And I was like, but dude, that wasn't happening that day. And I care about you more than I care about you playing the drums. That's the biggest, to me, that's a big thing too. I care about these students and their families. They're family to us. Like, you know, I've had students I've taught for 16, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know these people, they know you, you know, and they value your service and you treat them like family because they're, you know, they don't have to spend their money with you.
Yeah.
They have many other choices.
That'd be a whole other hang for us to have is to address the, you know, how do you get a significant student body and keep it?
Yeah. And that's kind of, I kind of hope to touch on that today, but if that's going to take too long, we can definitely do another.
Well, that's you know, it's like the old expression, anybody can get a gig, but can you keep a gig?
Yeah.
And that's the trick, man.
It goes way beyond, you know, the act of playing drums, teaching stick control, syncopation, all that stuff. Like it's like I think if you're a serious educator, you know, when you're dealing with young people, if you want, you know, if you're trying to groom them to go on to do, you know, music in whatever form, to go post-secondary with it or, you know, whatever, you know, you have to invest in that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a silly thing, but, you know, so 3 weeks ago, I took all the kids that were studying online and I grouped them into just levels, right? So I created 3 levels, right? And I challenged them. I gave them 2 weeks and I said, in 2 weeks, you're going to play. And I gave them a choice between 2 things. You're going to play this for me, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, they're all like, okay. So they show up at the thing. I said, you know, you have a chance to win something. And they're like, what? You know, so they were all psyched, right? So what I did was I didn't tell them, but they all got $5 DQ gift card, enough for a little blizzard, right? So they all got one, you know, and they were just, you know, this one kid, I remember, I can still remember it distinctly. He just had this look of, you know, dismay and like he just loathed his playing after he did it. And he's like, you know, I'm sorry, I thought I had this better. And I'm like, dude, you want a Dairy Queen gift card? He's like, what? You know, and they all got emailed out, right? And the ones that really, in my mind, killed it, they got a $10 one.
Nice.
So, you know, little things like that. I'm not saying that you have to buy, you know, some would say, well, you're buying your students off. No, I'm not. I'm
You're rewarding them for follow through.
That's the
Yeah.
follow through.
That's just
That's
parenting.
to show I care enough, that, it's not all about the money, and it's not all about, all those things that, because perspective is reality. And, I know that there's probably people out there that think, well, holy, Jay's got the music school and he's got, this many students, and, he must be raking it in, like it's just your perception, right? Like it's
Totally.
You don't know what my debt service ratio is, and you don't know what all I've got going on.
The only thing I'm raking is the front yard.
Right.
That's all I got.
Right?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just caring about it. It's just caring about the act of teaching. And if you look at a guy like Dom, right, like, would be crazy if we didn't bring his name up, because he's the king of this. I would say, and I don't think this is an irrational guess. I think Dom, he's obviously taught a lot of people drum lessons. I'm guessing Dom Familiaro has taught way more people life lessons than drum lessons.
For sure.
Through his stuff. And you look at that and go, well, wait, that's just crazy. It's like, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if
hang, is it not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And do you like hanging with that person?
Yeah. If you've got a 17-year-old student who plays great, but his parents get a hold of you and go, man, he's being awful at home. He's being mean. He's not a nice person. Yeah. We hang with him for a half hour that we could maybe not change that, but we could maybe make him happy about something.
Yeah.
And then you get an email from the parents going, man, I don't know what's going on, but he sure is, happier, nicer, whatever. And it's like, well, cool. That's great. That can rub off. Like that happens. And it doesn't matter if it's in person or online, or you're still exchanging, human energy in this whole thing. And you can make it awesome or awful.
Exactly.
Right.
Put that up on the banner.
Yeah.
Crazy. This is a little off topic. I don't know if we need to go into this, but Greg wants to know about cymbal setups.
Mine aren't red. I'll tell Greg that right now. I don't have any red feisty cymbals.
They're sure not feisty.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're not.
It's not the answer that Greg wants to hear, I'm sure.
Oh, Greg, what a beauty that guy is.
Yeah,
sweetheart.
Yeah, he might be one of the biggest drum geeks I've ever met in my lifetime.
Totally.
Dude, and when we were in school too, we had these like Friday drum ensemble classes, and every Friday you had to put a band together and you had to arrange a tune for the band and in a different style every week and that kind of thing. And Rock Week came around, and that is straight up Greg's alley. And that pocket, man,
you could
play that
Virgil Donati. You could marry Virgil Donati.
The DW connection?
Yeah.
Is he DW? I don't know.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But the color tone.
Yeah, red, green.
Yeah, I think I still have a black splash with his name on it.
Man,
sign it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Nope, definitely not Pisces though.
Yeah, I don't know if I had ever bought any of the color sound stuff. I bought Pisces cymbals before, and I love them, but I don't know if I had anything that was colored.
Yeah,
mine just discolored because I never clean them. But
you can't though. You're not supposed
overrated.
to.
No.
Yeah. That's so. But Jayson, you're Sabian.
Yeah.
Correct. And Brad, you're
Sabian.
Yeah. Oh, Sabian. Hey. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What a company. It's again the gear thing. It's preference and it's stuff, and guys get pretty heated about it, as you've probably seen online. They get pretty worked up. But man, it's just gear to get your job done, and everybody has a view of how they have to do their job and what will work best for them, and they make those choices based on that. Like it's I don't know. Like I don't know if I have any gear that is sort of just a useless piece of something. It always serves.
Yeah.
I wish I could just afford extra stuff like that, but it has to come into the play of playing music with people.
Rate of return.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. ROI, baby.
Yep. So just here's another question. This is for Brad, actually. Joel Jeske and I went to school together out here too, and he spoke about a connection you have with Vinny.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
That's kind of it's an indirect connection. So there was a guy that used to live in Saskatoon named Satnam Ramgotra.
Oh, yes.
And he's a little bit younger. I think he's a year younger. And Jay brought up PIT. Well, he ended up going to PIT and he did their drum set program, but he ended up, he's from South India, and he ended up getting picked up down there. Like, guys were just freaking out over how great he was as a tabla player.
Oh, I see.
So Satnam ended up, touring Japan with Steve Vai. And, like, he's a friggin' beast. And just to give you a little, and I'll get to the Vinny part. So the thing about Satnam is, he's also a great drum set player. He's right now doing Hans Zimmer's the drum chair with his live thing that he with Guthrie Govan, and like
that's okay.
Friggin' nuts. Anyway, so Satnam and I, would stay connected over the years, and he talked about doing some recording sessions with Vinny. I think one was a Lee Ritenour record. So anyways, they physically know each other quite well.
Cool.
And so anyways, this goes back.
I just got a text. I got to run into the house quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So I got I had an idea to have Vinny come and do, some clinic stuff. And so I kind of, Satnam's like, what? You just call him. And I'm like,
what?
Okay. So I honestly can't remember if it was I might have been Drum Doctors, and I can't remember in LA, and I somehow got a hold of his cell phone number. So I phone him up. He picks up. Well, actually, he doesn't pick up. I get voicemail. Right?
Okay.
Like, leave a message, blah, blah, blah. So leave my message. And this was before I started teaching that day. And so fast forward, it's about 9:45 our time. All of a sudden the phone rings on my house phone, and my wife picks it up and she goes, Brad, you might want to come in here. There's someone on the phone for you.
Oh, man.
Who is it? It's like 10 to 10. And she's like, Vinny? I'm like, oh, grab the phone. I'm like, hello? And sure enough, it was Vinny. And he doesn't know me from Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably talked for 25 minutes. 25 minutes. He was just the most gracious guy.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so anyway, he told me about this, at this time he was still playing Zildjian.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he had this Ping ride, a 22-inch Ping that, he was using with Jing Chi and Charisma and all this stuff. And it cracked on this tour. And he said it broke his heart and all this kind of stuff. And, it was just really, and by the end of it, he's like, well, you must, why did you reach out to me? And I'm like, well, I said, I really wanted you to come up here and do a clinic, or, kind of to tie into Whack Bam Thud somehow. And, he's like, oh, he goes, that, I can't remember the word he used. It's something to the effect of, that really blesses me that you would consider asking me, but he's like, I don't really do that.
Right.
I don't really do festivals and, clinics and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm like, you know what? That's okay. I said, this had to be one of the coolest conversations I've ever had,
Interesting.
And then the funny thing was when he played here with Herbie in 2007, I think the first time, we, I had a coffee with him, and we just kind of hung out backstage at the Bez Gardens, and yeah, it was just a really awesome experience. He's just a sweet guy. Like he's so intelligent. If he doesn't have sticks in his hand, he's got a book in his hand. And
nice.
If you've never checked out his Breakfast with Vinny podcast,
it's amazing.
Stuff,
it's amazing.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's like they're all 9 minutes long, and it's like nothing but insight into like
you can sit there and just write stuff down.
Cool.
Like, oh yeah,
so good. And he doesn't put out a bunch of episodes either.
No,
like it's just when it has to and it matters, right?
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, I'd much prefer that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Okay, well that's
on Podbean. That's on Podbean, right?
Podbean.
Podbean. I believe that's where that's
Spotify as well.
Is it? Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
It's everywhere.
Oh, I don't have Spotify. I'm not giving them my money.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly.
This is great. I don't mean for this to go on too much longer than this. I usually shoot for about,
pretty quick. So
90 minutes is plenty, I think. But I do think I'd like to have both you guys back sometime, just to talk a little bit more about actually educating different ages of students and what goes into that, and like you said, building a roster, if you will, or a clientele, and keeping them. I think that's really important. That'd be really good.
I think so. Absolutely. And the other part of the music industry that I've found, and this is maybe a prairie singer anywhere, but you talk about farming and diversification. You have to be diverse in this industry to have a career. Like you can do it for a while, but if you want to do it for a long time, diversity is key. And that's, whether that's technology, whether that's getting into production, getting into mixing, getting into editing, learning about all sorts of whatever workstation, just learning all the stuff. You've just got to take it all in like a sponge, because at some point it's going to come back where that knowledge will help you, mic your own drums, or get sounds, or, talk to a producer and know what questions to ask in a situation. And, all that stuff is massive. Yeah. So you just have to be eyes, ears all open all the time. I've always found, I tell students that too. It's, if you want to take this serious or anything seriously, you just got to, get all the info you can all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I feel like it's, just to kind of close what Jay said, like, musicians, who say they're, studio guys and you've got to be adaptable in the studio.
Yeah.
And be prepared to do whatever it takes to get the magic take, right? So why, I don't get it, why a lot of cats are just resistant, to that in their, just in the way they adapt to life change, or to, that kind of thing, So, okay, well, if you're adaptable, then this requires you to just kind of roll with the punches here a little bit and, make the best of it. I mean, we're all
absolutely
in that position right now, but
totally. Yeah. Sean Pelton had a quote years ago. He said, if you want to be a studio musician, could you go into the studio and have a 13-year-old girl bring her songs in and play guitar and tell you how she wants the drums to go? Could you do that?
Yeah.
Because he's like, I can do that. But a lot of guys would be like, no. You're 13. I'm the drummer. I'll play what I think is best. It's like, and you just got fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the 13-year-old girl's dad owns the record company.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah.
Or is sending the e-transfer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But it's all perspective, right? You go into any situation and you go, what's needed from me today in this situation, and how can I bring the best to these people for what they need for their art or song or whatever they need. And that's just kind of what you have to, that's just how it works with the lesson too. Every lesson you go in going, what do I have to deliver in this 30 minutes that would be the best for that person?
Yeah. 100%.
It sounds cliche, but it's true though, man. It's how it works every day. If you go into Subway and order a sub and you don't go, if I'm going to be non-tolerant and rude to this person, are they really going to help me? Yeah. I don't think so.
Definitely not.
Not so much.
No.
Yeah.
Teamwork, baby.
Yeah. Teamwork, adaptability. Well, I think this is a great note to end on. I think Shane's leaving too. He's got to go watch Matlock.
Nice,
Oh
Shane.
dear.
Yeah.
More bass
No.
talk. Oh.
Fuck.
It's not actually. I was thinking about having a bunch of bass players on at one point, but I don't know about that anymore.
A bunch? Are they allowed to hang in groups?
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
I thought bass quarantine had been going on for like 30 years now.
Maybe. Well, I'll think about it. Maybe, if there are any good bass players around, let me know.
Ooh, shots fired.
That's right. That's right. Come get me. Anyways, thanks guys for sticking around. This is a great chat. I think I'd definitely like to have both of you on again.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you reaching out, Brandon. This means
you.
a lot that you reach out to us and ask us to be involved. And it's great to be involved in something with Brad. I know he's only a couple hours from here, but we rarely see each other. Well, everybody's lives are parallel, right? Everybody does the same thing at the same time. So, and how often do drummers get to hang out? We're never going to be in a band.
Right.
Exactly. And I've never met Brad either, so this has been great.
It's a pleasure, man. Really.
First meeting. Yeah, thanks for hanging out.
You got it.
Excellent. All right, we'll talk soon, guys.
Take care, boys. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.